All right. Let's try again. Good evening. Good evening. Come on. All right. Welcome back. This is the last part of the day. I hope you enjoyed it so far. We did. I know the judges did as well. We'll see the 4 finalists tonight. 2 from the San Francisco room and 2 from the London room. But before we start with pitching, I'd like to take a moment to first thank our judges. So we had Eve, Janine, Anthony, Ajit, Mark, and Ken today. So please join me for one round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving up your Saturday. And I know a lot of them are willing to have conversation with all of you after and follow up on your ideas. So please go and talk to them. The second people I'd like to thank is the volunteers today. Volunteers, stand up. Come on. Thank you, guys. And thank you to Honorata at the back who helped put up the event as well. Good job, Honorata. All right, and the last one is for you guys. I mean, you've done an amazing job, right? We released the case on October 1st. We're really impressed by all of the ideas, so a really, really warm congratulations on the behalf of all of us. So, back to the competition now. So, to announce the first finalist, I'd like to ask Eve to say a few words about the team that was picked and announced it. Yes, citizen.
Okay, well, the London judges, there were loads of great ideas. We'd like to thank each and every one of you who came and presented. Lots of innovation and we were really impressed by the depth of some of the ideas. So thank you, because that's taken lots of hours. And we know that you're also managing your lives, getting ready for your finals, and so we're really impressed with all of the quality. So the team that we'd really like to come and present now, the things that we were impressed most about them were they were starting where refugees are. Their solution was relevant to different parts of the refugee journey and cycle. There was a really strong identification of partnerships, and they also harnessed lay people like you and me who go about our normal lives and want to help. So they had a solution which really harnessed those through different funding streams as well. And one thing that stood out for me was the scalability. So they had plans to 2020 and then another review period to 2022. So please come and represent Faith.
Come on. Come on, guys, hurry up. Who's the timekeeper?
Come on.
Thank you. Representing? Wait, representing.
Who's doing the slides? All right, come up on stage as well. Timekeeper is here. Same format.
Just let me know.
Give it a second.
Good evening, everyone. We are Team Faith, and we'd like to present our social enterprise idea, which is called Evacuate. It is a digital wallet to rescue refugees on the move by 2022. My name is Jersil. These are my teammates, Diana and Gopi. And today, we will be showing you our presentation. And here's our agenda. We will be covering these during our presentation. So let's begin. First, we took a look at the current situation where refugees are now, and this correlates with their technology. First of all, 100 million refugees are on the move as it is. And out of 5 billion smartphones, mobile phones that are currently here, 1 billion already are smartphones. What do refugees use when they're on the move? They use 3G network and they use Wi-Fi. And they also utilize apps that are able to use offline access so that despite the lack of Wi-Fi, they are able to find their way to their destination. So what is our first mission? Our first mission is to help the Middle Eastern refugees into a smooth transition to Europe. Middle Eastern refugees are stuck in political turmoil, civil unrest, and thus they are forced to relocate into different areas. And why do they go to Europe? They go to Europe because there is lack of international funding to this day. Also, even though they go to neighboring countries such as Lebanon, Turkey, and Jordan, they are not given the right permission to work and therefore reducing them to poverty. So, why do we go, where do they find the fresh beginning, the new start that they need? They apply for asylum in these following countries. They go to countries such as Germany or Sweden. Why? Because they offer real benefits to refugees. They give them permanent residency. They give them a new life. So we want to help these refugees gain that sense of dignity with Evacuate. And to tell us more, Gopi will tell us about the functions of the app.
We have taken the golden opportunity to give what they need through what they have, and that is smartphone. Our digital database platform will allow them travel advisors, booking facilities, and checking in at safety points by presenting legal documentations. Evacuate provides in multiple languages, and we're mainly targeting their Android users. It's downloadable to refugees, families and relatives, and the people who are donating. So the initial stage is that you have to download it for free, and there will be two interfaces which will be segmented into refugees and relatives, and the other one will be for the people who are donating. So the payment process, you connect to their personal account and create money transfers and personalized safety routes to where they can find their community who have already migrated in the area. Relatives can create a linked account in order to provide remittances and track their trails as well. And for the people who cannot pay, they use our Faith helpline.
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Let's talk about journey of Hassan and his family. So, imagine Hassan, who's affected by a civil war. He takes out his phone and downloads Evacuate. He creates an account linked to his social media platform. First, he chooses a destination available at real time, which with cost estimates, and receives passport date travel card added to his digital wallet. To book accommodations, that will be selectively placed in our database platform, and these accommodations will be nearby convenience stores and checkpoint areas to access free Wi-Fi, for example, and save points. And to create groups within the apps, the relatives and friends will provide like personal tips as well. The main feature of the app is the digital wallet, where the facility will use remittances, donations, and all bookings will be under one platform. Now transferring to Diana.
So next we're going to go to the how the app is going to be sustainable. Why do we choose a virtual app? Because living in a virtual world, digital age, being virtual is the best way, and we see a growth in it for data storing, and it's easy, it's accessible to the world. Next is the funding. How are we going to fund this app? So we estimated that it's going to cost us £380,000 to build the app, and we estimated that we're going to target around 5 million refugees out of the 100 million refugees that are on the move. And the non-refugee users, we targeted at 3 million donors. So this non-refugee users comprises of family members of the refugee and some generous donors out there in the world. So what's going to make our idea feasible is that we were thinking along the lines from the start was to have something that is accessible, an accessible system to facilitate refugees to migrate from one location to another location safely and legally. We don't want refugees to go to illegal routes. So that's how this app is going to work. And how? Through the digital wallet. Because when refugees are traveling, they are going to not be carrying many things with them. So it being a virtual app is a good thing. And why? Because everything, like I said earlier, everything is virtual. Everything is kept in a virtual vault. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Come back in front for the Q&A session. Judges, who would like to start with a question?
Thank you. Well done. What do you think the kind of how do people pay £5? Do you think that's a kind of a reasonable kind of level, seeing as people don't have much money?
Well, that's the misconception about looking at Syrian refugees, because we're aiming towards, at this stage, we're going to target Syrian refugees that are moving to Germany. So misconception is people think refugees are poor. They're not. They're like normal people just like us who are being forced to move out their homes.
Refugees, more than often or not, they pay more than £5 to get through the border. They smuggle like thousands of money to get people, across the border. So I think they can find some sort of sourcing for £5.
Judges, another question?
Technical platform, you mentioned the Android. You must consider the Apple platform as well, of course. Yes? And is this available on both?
All right, no more questions? Thank you very much, Team Face. All right, that was the first presentation. And thank you for adding a little bit of drama to it as well. So for the next team, careful. There's a stage here and there's a step here, all right? Okay, I'd now like to ask Anthony, if that's okay with you, to announce the second finalist.
Hi everyone. First off, hello, testing. On behalf of the judges from San Francisco. Hello. Sorry about this. On behalf of the judges from the San Francisco team, we're very happy and very grateful to hear some fantastic, amazing, inspiring social enterprise initiatives. What's great is that we would encourage everyone that spoke today to continue to develop those ideas, to continue to work on ideas that they're passionate about, and to make a difference. This competition doesn't end here. It continues, and we hope you take what we've discussed and continue to develop those going forward. The idea that we thought would like to go through to the next stage in terms of development focused on one singular problem. It provided a solution that wasn't necessarily new, but it was packaged well, it was presented very well, the team was cohesive, it had opportunities to be scalable, and also engage with other connectivity options, other agencies. I'd like to invite Team Impacts to come present.
So today we would like to tell a story. It's a story of millions of souls who were forced to move out of their countries, their homes, their families, but it's also a story of hope. It's a story of believing that the most creative and daring minds can revolutionize the aid concept that is out there at the moment and give refugees what they need the most, hope. So we are the team that thinks this is possible. We have Alex Welsh from America, Charis Yip from Malaysia, myself, and Konyetsny from Germany. We are Team Impact.
We are currently targeting the refugees who are currently going through the transitional phase. So these are the people who are located and residing in refugee camps or temporary accommodations that are similar to those. The issues we've identified for our product to address are these. So food rations have become a sort of means of trade within these refugee camps. What this means is that there are some refugees that are forced to have the option every day between food or other necessities. This has in turn created aid dependency. This is bad because aid dependency has many problems to it. There's an inefficiency to the distribution system. There's a lack of infrastructure as well as a tendency for corruption to occur. This leads on to psychological unrest. So these refugees are already currently in weak mental states, and because of this, they shouldn't be put through more traumatizing experiences. The lack of educational outlets have delayed any sense of individual development. And in addition to that, financial dependence through the lack of appropriate currency has been a large problem as it isolates them. It also doesn't allow them to integrate well into social and economic activity. So, what is our mission? Our mission is to provide aid, not as a source of dependency, but as a sustainable solution to empower people during times of global unrest. We are literally bringing the metaphor to life. We're not giving them the fish, we are teaching them how to fish instead. How are we going to do this? Let us introduce you to an innovative new approach to aquaponics.
Moving on to our product. Through the combination of vertical farming and aquaponics, we have created flat-packed aquaponic farming kits to be used in post-disaster aid relief methods. Aquaponics is a simple way of being able to grow vegetables and fruits in an ecosystem of fish, water, plants, and bacteria in an efficient manner. Along with our product, we have designed a manual. Using the use of diagrams and little text, we make our manual accessible and easily understandable to individuals regardless of their educational background or language skill set. In order to further improve and develop our product, we have created 2 prototypes. After the creation of our second prototype, we decided to carry out field work in Nepal. After the earthquake in April 2015, we went for 2 weeks in the summer of 2015 to work directly with women there in rural areas to introduce our product and gain feedback. We were very excited to see that people were very excited about our product and interested in the new method of farming. We saw a lot of interest among the youth as they had not previously had a lot of experience in working in the agricultural sector. Since we only had 2 weeks for this trip, we went back in the summer of 2016 and worked directly with farmers in order to work on our agricultural techniques and practices to find the inefficiencies in our system and be able to work on making the most efficient system that we can bring to the market today.
So keeping all of this in mind, we have come up with a project which uses a multi-stakeholder approach. So we will receive our funding from crowdfunding, NGOs, and governmental agencies, which will allow us to receive the funding we need in order to supply the refugees in the refugee camps with the impact farms they need in order to create their own produce. 75% of these produce will stay within the camps, and the refugees can either consume, trade, or redistribute this produce amongst themselves within the camp. The other 25% will be sold outside the camps to the outside community. This will generate income for those volunteers who take on a bigger role within the camps to support and supervise the project. So here you can see how we want to arrange our farms within the camps. So we want to create so-called impact hubs, which allows us to basically arrange the farms in such a way that there's a communal space created. This will enhance teamwork and the feeling of belongingness. Nevertheless, each household will have their own farm, which means that there's also a sense of ownership.
The overall impact we wish to have with our product brings us back to the challenges that we mentioned in the beginning of our presentation. Starting with food security, we aim to provide an abundant food source for individuals within the refugee camps, along with allowing them the power and the choice to take control over their dietary consumption. Moving into community building with the impact hubs, we hope to further enforce the sense of community in the refugee camps, moving on to the creation of a safe healing space for individuals where they can leave the burden of their circumstances behind and participate in an educationally stimulating environment through traditional therapeutic agricultural practices. In the end, we hope that we can give refugees the sense of economical independence and allow them to break out of the aid dependency cycle, along with being able to move further in the stages of the refugee cycle as well.
Next, you can see a cost breakdown. So on the left, we have broken down every single component of each unit along with its costs. This brings us to a total of 30 euros per small unit. On the right, we've designed a specified cost table for our pilot project that we're hoping to launch in Belgium. So why have we chosen Belgium? It's because we currently have an advisor who's located in Belgium who's conducting primary research for us. And during this primary research, we've acknowledged the fact that there are 3 of the largest federal refugee camps that host 1,800 refugees. Therefore, we've decided to distribute it in a way that each 4-member family is given 1 unit. Therefore, it means 476 in quantity. With 30 euros in cost per unit, that gives us a total of 14,320 euros for our pilot project in Belgium itself. This includes packaging as well as transportation, because we are planning to do the manufacturing in Belgium itself. Therefore, this will cause very minimal transportation costs. Next, we have the revenue streams. We have 3 different types of revenue streams as mentioned before. First, crowdfunding through internal platforms. We want to integrate a software through platforms like Mango, so where people can donate onto the Impact website itself. Second, it's through crowdfunding on external platforms. So this means like GoFundMe or Lychee, where they extract commission. And third, we have contributions from NGOs, governmental agencies, and national governments themselves. Now, with all this in mind, we've drafted a timeline to predict the scalability of our initiative, whether we can achieve the goal of 10 million by 2022. With the statistics used by the UN Refugee Agency, we've identified that by the first year, we'd like to successfully finish our pilot project in Belgium, then further expand with success to Netherlands, Germany, other neighboring countries. This would give us a reach of approximately 1 million refugees in different circumstances. In addition to that, we'd like to retain feedback to improve our farm continuously. By 2019, we want to expand to the entirety of Europe, 2 million refugees. And by 2022, we want to finish the expansion to North Africa and Middle East, where most of these refugees are located, and we'd be exposed to 25 million refugees in total, hitting our target of 10 million refugees in the transitional phase.
So on a map, our scale would look like this: 2018, 2019, 2022. So this concludes our presentation. Thank you so much for listening. And yeah.
Congratulations. You had 1 second left, so that's really, really well timed. Judges, questions?
In Nepal, how this impact hubs, did you test them out, or was it more on a smaller scale, or how was your how did it work with this aquaponics when you tested them first time?
In the first time, we had some issues. As I mentioned previously in the other presentation, we noticed that we were at too high of an altitude for the fish to survive. So we actually had to adopt the systems without the fish. But the beauty of aquaponics is that these systems can be used without the fish and can be substituted for soil and manure to provide the nutrients that the plants need. So in the second trip, we actually had the availability of being at a lower altitude, and the farmers that we visited had various different fish ponds. And so we actually didn't use the tower system, and we adapted it to different pipes and container lids, where we were able to actually float our farms above the fish ponds and have the produce growing that way. If that answers.
Anthony?
Hi, have you considered other trade opportunities for growers? So maybe aggregating external contracts from camps?
Actually, we've looked into the legal structure in Belgium, and what we found is that they actually have a very short paperwork period. So individuals would be allowed to wait for 3 months and be able to obtain a paper which would allow them to trade and sell their produce outside the camp within Belgium. So it really enables them to do whatever they want with that opportunity if they go through the steps properly.
Thank you. How much food would this tower, how much plants would it grow?
This is the estimated yield. So one tower feeds approximately a household of 4 individuals with excess supply involved as well.
Sorry, I'm trying to read it and listen
Yeah.
to you.
So one tower is the 5 meters squared, and that feeds enough for 4 people. So enough food for 4, Enough food for 4 people would be, in each tower, it's about 60 plants. So this is for 10 towers, so that's to feed 40 individuals, which would be 100 liters of water and 20 fish. So that's the overall yield of 300 to 400 plants. But for an individual tower, it's 60 plants.
And how much would that, if I was a family of 4 and I had my own tank, you mentioned ownership, how long would that keep me and my family?
It really depends on the produce you choose to grow. Okay. So depending on the produce and how often your consumption is, it depends on that. Because it would just take 2 to 3 months to have your first harvest. So in 2 to 3 months, if you have 60 plants, and by estimate, you're not really going to be eating all of them, and it would allow you to trade and sell in between other farming units as well.
But the idea is that it keeps that family going. It isn't just certain times of the year.
No, it's a continuous harvest cycle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Questions? No? Thank you very much, Team Impact. All right, we're down to the third finalist, and I'd like to ask Mark to tell us who it is.
Well, it's the standard is fantastic. Agree. Sorry, I forgot this. It is working. We were impressed with all of the presentations, and I have to say that for some of us who were here last year, the standard of the presentations, the delivery, your graphics and everything else was definitely up from last year remarkably. It was really, really great, so you should be really proud. One of the ideas, and there were so many, and we had a very long discussion in actually trying to make our choices because there were so many great options for us, looked at jobs and how easy it was for refugees or hard for refugees, and how to overcome some of those challenges. And so what I'd like to do, without revealing their story, but I think that you'll find that it's a really compelling one, ask Refugee to come forward and give their presentation, please.
And while Refugee settles, just Ajit wanted to say a few words because I think it was down to 3 and it was a very difficult decision.
Yeah, in acknowledgement of the really good presentations that we've gone through and the various ideas and the details, for the highlight of the team which has come together with, who seem passionate and with an innovative idea which can be pursued, a special mention of Team V would like to call upon and encourage you to keep carrying on your idea.
Thank you, Ajit. Refugee.
Welcome. We are Refugee. There are millions of refugees globally fleeing their homes as a result of the conflict. All displaced people sacrifice of their identity, their community, and their dignity in order to escape desperate circumstances of a tragic variety. They have no papers to prove their skills. Therefore, they are unable to get a job. This results in a high unemployment rate seen in refugees. Here we have 2 examples, highlighting Sayed. He has been forced to unexpectedly flee Syria as a result of the rising conflict. He had worked as a butcher for 12 years in a family-run business. After fleeing, he has been unable to find a job. He has no papers to prove his skills. This is why we have developed Refugee.
We, Refugee, will validate refugees' skills and provide them with a certificate so they can enter the job market. Our aim is to help and assist refugees integrate into the local communities of their host country, restoring their rights and dignity. So we have 2 certification options. Certifying their hard as well as their soft skills. So skill validation will validate the existing skills that refugees have. And this is best explained using an example. So Sayed enters the UK as a butcher, but has no access to the workforce. Our platform will link refugees with a validator who is a recognized professional in a given area. That validator will validate his skills, after which refugee provides him with a certificate. We will not only provide a certificate to the refugee, but also to the validating, recognizing his or her contribution. And then psychometric testing will assist refugees successfully integrate in companies. We've spoken to psychometric specialists in the industry, and together with Ashridge, we will provide a unique psychometric test for refugees. And who is our target market? So with both certificates, we cover the entire labor force, from low to high skilled. So again, to reiterate our idea, let me show you the refugee journey. We focus on refugees that are resettled and that have the rights to work. They will apply online and we'll do a background check. Then they apply and make a profile, after which we link the refugee with a validator. Then their skills will be verified and they will do a psychometric test. After which refugee can give them a certificate and we link a company with a refugee, which will mutually benefit both. And we've done in-depth market research, and there's no company in the current marketplace that validates the skills of the current refugees. So why would company hire employees from refugee? In essence, we would like to create a fair trade type of brand that companies would like to associate themselves with, that will help with their CSR and provide them with high-skilled employees. So you will probably recognize those brands. We want to follow the same logic, so very soon you also recognize the refugee logo. And we've spoken to high potentials in the industry, like Alex Small, Director of Private Equity at Ernst & Young, as well as Guy Tundel, CEO of Casa. And they see very strong potential in our business model.
Let us have some looks on the numbers of refugees coming to Europe over the next years. Last year in 2015, there were 1.3 million refugees who received their asylum. If we look on Germany, there were 500,000, almost 500,000 in Germany who received their asylum last year. We know that there are millions more refugees coming to Europe, but we don't know how many. Different sources provide us with different numbers. We have sources saying that there are 10 million more asylum seekers heading to Europe over the next years. Back to Germany, one source is saying there are 3.6 million refugees coming to Germany by the year 2020. That's why we choose Germany as the country where we would like to start our social enterprise, Refugee. We have here a quite conservative calculation of how many certificates we want to provide the refugees over the next years. However, we know that we can reach far more refugees, and I will tell you why or how. First, if we help one refugee to getting a job, we will not only help him, but also the whole family with on average 4.7 dependents. Second, if we create a psychometric test, we can increase the number of refugees we can target, and we can roll out the psychometric test globally. Last but not least, a country like Germany, they spend millions of euros to help to support the refugees. And with a higher employment rate of refugees, they can save the money and spend it on other social or refugee-related projects. We want to create a social movement towards the sometimes negative feelings towards refugees, and we want proof the local people that refugees have a big impact in the society and also in the global economy. We will have 3 streams of generating revenues. First, if we connect a refugee with a company, we will place a fee of around 10%, which we're going to be paid by the company. Second, we will license the refugee psychometric test. And last but not least, with a successful social enterprise, we will get the attention of governments, and they will provide us with subsidies.
I hope you can see up to this point that we have an innovative social proposition that will not only have a significant impact on the lives of refugees, but also their perception in the wider arena. I want to go over a couple of key milestones on our roadmap to the finals. In January 2017, we're going to undertake a rigorous pilot test and adjust our business model as necessary, moving towards the March regionals. Furthermore, we're going to gather an industry expert panel, which we've already worked on. The purpose of this panel is to assist us, but also to challenge us at every step of the way. We know from our careers that this is a vital component to success. So, why do we need the million? Launching an ambitious and unique business model requires both technology and innovation in combination. We want to create a unique online refugee platform. We also want to develop a psychometric test that can be rolled out globally. Furthermore, we want to have a brand that's recognised worldwide. So, back to us. We understand that we can't do this on our own, which is why we've got a board of advisors already in place to help us and assist us. They've given their time and their effort to help in our plight. I'd like to highlight Anja Petzold, who's the director of the Central Berlin Refugee Camp. She's going to be absolutely fundamental in our journey to the Hult final and beyond. And lastly, why us? Why choose us over another team? Well, we have a solid foundation built on friendship and mutual respect. We bring a lot of different things to the table. We've got different aspects, different views, and different mindsets. And we believe these give us synergies that can create and overcome many challenges that lie ahead. This concludes our presentation, but hopefully not our journey. We look forward to any questions you have.
Hi, can you elaborate on your background check process that you described in the first step of the migrant journey or through the refugee? And also, if I can ask the second question, with the scaling that you have presented to reach the number of certification, how do you plan to reach out and impact 10 million by 2022?
So I can answer the first question, not sure about the second one. To the first question, I run a business in medical recruitment myself, and the governance side of it is quite standardized. We could run sort of criminal record checks at the start for background and run a whole host of other background checks that are standardized. With regards to the psychometric testing, what we're hoping is that through the development of the psychometric test, because we're going to have such a large exposure to refugees, we're going to invite the research company in with us to see the refugees' progress. And if we can create a unique and copyrighted psychometric test, we can then franchise that to governments, NGOs, and further companies as well.
No, can we go back to the financial slide? There was had a question on there. Yeah, that's it. You mentioned on the right-hand side there was 380,000 cash left over. Could you explain that a little bit more? Because that sounds that's nice money in the bank, but I'm sure it's for something. So.
Yeah, well, our estimates, we've at this early stage of the competition, we've been conservative. We want to leave leeway moving forward. So we don't want to say things that we can't justify at the moment. So that 380,000 is essentially a gap that we can fill potentially with any overspending we have over the next period. So if we find out the psychometric test will cost more, then we can factor that into those costs as well.
It was interesting when we looked at this the first time, because you're actually saying that you need 1 million, but then saying that 380 is kind of not used at the moment, so there's just a bit of tension in that, which would be useful to think through.
Although we're a revenue generating business, there is obviously risk with generating revenue in year 1, year 2 and year 3. So we want to be in a financially stable position so we don't have to look to our other third source, government revenue. That's not guaranteed. So we don't want to have to rely on anyone else or run out of money in year 1 by spending the entire million. So that was our thought process behind that.
2 questions. What do you plan to do with the revenue generated over your lifespan other than remaining sustainable? And also, do you have any plans to assist and support refugees that are not recognised legally within each country?
So to your first question, when I got it right, so what are we going to do with the revenue? I think on average, we can receive maybe €1,000 per refugee we can place with a company. We know if we place a refugee with a butcher or let's say a cleaning service, we are not able to receive €1,000. But when we think about the psychometric test, which will test the ability to work in a team, the ability to work in different culture, we also think about people who are highly educated and going to be like a manager in a large corporation. a corporation who will be able to pay a high amount of money. So that's the average of €1,000. Second question, we are targeting, as we said, with both tests, a quite broad number of refugees. But of course, we're only targeting refugees who have received the asylum to stay for a longer time in Germany or other countries.
All right. Thank you very much, referee. Good luck.
Chica?
Very good. All right. Last but not least, Janine is going to announce the last finalist of the evening.
Hi, everyone. So in 2010, I was sitting where you're sitting with a really young, good-looking student, Ronan. So me and Ronan were doing our executive MBA at Ashridge, and we came on this journey. So I kind of really appreciate, quite frankly, we were rubbish. So I've been a judge for 5 years, and I'm really, really impressed with what I saw today. So I've got a big round of applause for yourselves. So I'm really sorry, it is the last one. And you're going, oh God, I hope it's me. So the last one, we thought this group had a really, really clear proposition. We didn't need to discuss it as a group going, what was it? It was very clear and it was feasible. We felt that they worked really well as a team and they presented really well. They understood what the impact was, and for kind of refugees, they thought about the need. It was a really clear business. They weren't asking for donations, they were making money, and I think that's what the kind of the task was. And they used the kind of share an economy, but they kind of tweaked it to kind of, it wasn't entirely original, but they kind of tweaked it to kind of make it kind of work. So, and I'm going to get the name right, it's the Refuginity.
So I'm going to start with presenting our team. And this is Stefano. He's basically an entrepreneur. And then we have Francisco, who is an IT consultant. We have Jessica. She's from the supply chain management, and myself with marketing experience. So before we start this, we are gathering today as a team, and we are MBA students here today, and we are finding that we need to do this challenge together. So Jessica is going to start with explaining our idea.
Okay. Hult Prize Challenge 2017. It's focused on reawaken all the human potential among refugees. And the main purpose for this is to bring back the integrity and the rights to all those people who need to leave their homes because of many of reasons. It could be because of a war, because of climate change, economic pressure, or something happening around them. The refugee cycle is being divided like in 4 stages, where we have pre-migration, in motion, in transition, and in resettlement. During all these stages, refugees find a lot of problems and a lot of difficulties that we can look into them and find opportunities to provide solutions and help the economic environment to develop. We decided to focus on resettlement because here is where we saw we have the largest impact, because we can generate a long-term solution for all refugees, where the main challenge when they are already transferred there is to integrate them into society. They face many problems when they get there. The main of them are the cultural and the language differences, the undocumented status, that they don't have qualifications that are recognized there, And one of the main things is that they are discriminated. Why? Because they are seen as if they don't have any skills. They are seen as unskilled people.
So basically, according to IMF, we know that refugees today generate the increasing GDPs. And however, and this is in short term, but the problem is that we don't know what is going to be in long term. So in long term, it all depends on how well they are integrated. So our solution is Integrate Me. And that is us, basically. And we're going to focus on innovative technology, one market platform, and social networks, because that is what we have today as a tool around us. And we're going to do this through continuous learning and personal development. And Stefano with the idea.
Thank you. So basically, how are we going to address the problem? We're going to link the refugees with the employers, and we're going to match their skills with the necessities of the employers. By doing so, we're also going to facilitate the bureaucratic process of hiring. So basically, we start from the training service. We're going to train the refugees and the company as well into sharing the values and the social customs in order to ease up the integration between the two different cultures. We're going to then connect them to local companies for temporary work, but with the ultimate goal of promoting the direct hire after this period of temporary work. This will lead to the creation of a natural network for refugees in which already working refugees will help coming into the workforce of the upcoming refugees. Ultimately, this will lead to the integration of all the refugees that we address to, and a lot of diversity into the companies in the local country. This will create a never-ending spinning wheel, because this will trigger a domino effect in which actual working refugees will be mentors for newly coming refugees. And if you can. And Francisco is going to explain in details about the connection.
So to connect the market with the refugees, we present you the Integrate Me platform. This platform, it's a website. It works as a website and an app application where companies or individuals can hire the services of refugees based on their expertise, availability, and professional skills. So how does this work? So it works like a network hub where refugees are connected to the market. So an employer can go into this application, and it's in a very easy and direct way. They can search for a certain skill, and they will have information about the background of the refugee, previous services that they presented, and also we will have a rating system that will also help on the pricing evaluation of the cost of that person. But more important than that, it will give the clients the trust to hire these professionals or these refugees, and for us, it will be our way to assess how well they are being integrated in the society, or if they need more work, more training.
So to go a bit on a more detailed business plan, our business model is of a temporary recruitment and job placement agency. Our target clients are any private individual that can hire a professional refugee through our app or companies. Our expansion plan to 3 to 5 years is to start in the UK, given our research about the legislation about work permits for refugees in the UK, and then to expand in the rest of Europe. We're going to collaborate with governments, immigration authorities, employment agencies, and educational institutions to reach the most refugees we can in order to take them into our company. The revenue model will be a commission / e-commerce model. So we're going to get a contingency fee out of the salaries of the refugees that we're going to make them able to work. About the expenditures, we're going to fund, the first expenditures will be the funding of the web platform and creation, the establishment of the training centers, covering the formation expenses for companies, and covering the expenses for paperwork management towards companies. So basically, our business plan is focused on being executable, profitable, and as Natalie previously mentioned, we focus on a long-term strategy and on a future growth potential.
Integrate Me how we will impact. We will focus on create a community and a social network that maintains between people working. So workers will share their experience, and this way, like mouth by mouth and with a domino effect, we will be known as a platform. So we could like look for partners to associate with that they're as passionate and committed as us, so that we can create a social movement. And leading us to our main goal, that it will be integration of refugees into society.
So why integrate me? So we are dedicated people who believe in refugees and the skills that they have, and we need to show that. So our ultimate goal is basically integration. And what makes us different is that... Oh.
Mark.
Thank you, great presentation. Even if we don't know what the difference is in the end. That could be my first question, if you can do it as a quick answer. The second one is, I can see it working, but what incentive are you offering over other job agencies and routes to finding staff or people to work with?
Well, basically, we are having, the whole idea of it is like, we have a rating tool, for example. It's about using one platform, so it's going to be a community where people can find jobs. So we know what jobs they can offer, and then we will match those and be able to always continuously improve. So that's why continuous improvement is the key in this business model.
Can you talk a bit about training and impact? Can you talk about the underserved and what you will do to help facilitate integration? Yeah, of course. Could you talk a bit about training and your impact and the work you'll do to facilitate integration of those that are not legal?
Okay. You want me to go? Okay. When we talk about training, we're talking about basically focusing on addressing what they have in common with the society they're resettled in, and what they have different from the society they're settling in. So we're gonna try and match them with similar people, and so they're gonna be able to see what's different, adapt to what's different, recognize what's similar, in order to find common ground, and in order to be able to actually integrate and feel part of the community and not still refugees in another country.
And well, also to complement that, like one of our trainings will be focused on the language, because most of the refugees are like resettled to transfer to another country. The main reason they can't work there is because of their language, because they don't have. So the main focus of the training will be in this part.
Judges, any other question? No? Okay, thank you. All right, so this concludes the pitch of the 4 finalists for tonight. To all of the other teams that didn't make it to the final, first, congratulations. Second, there's an online competition that the Hult Prize is running as of March 5th. So if you're passionate about your idea, and some of them are excellent, we all know that, please do apply to the online competition. And you're also quite fortunate to be in London, where there are a lot of other social entrepreneurship competitions throughout the year. So if you're passionate about your idea, we as a school are obviously committed to help you launch it throughout the year. So I'll now like to ask the judges to go and deliberate. Also, I'd like to ask the 4 finalists to stay within reach if some of the judges have questions. And while the judges deliberate, I believe we're going to have refreshments upstairs. So back later. Thank you.